Good morning to you. Welcome. It's the front page review on Voice of the People, VOP 96.1 FM. My name is Gesire Agua. It's a Friday, the 12th of July, 2024. How are you doing? How are you feeling this morning? I hope you're ready for another day's broadcast, another day in the news to find out what exactly is happening. And yesterday, in a shocker, the Supreme Court, did something that has been in the news for a bit. They did something really, really, really amazing. They said that they granted local governments financial autonomy. Really, really interesting because that also caused the governors to rush into a closed door meeting with the president yesterday. I'm sure they're all scrambling and looking for what to hold on to in terms of, okay, you are removing this power from our hands. What do you want us to do at this point in time? We'll look at all that in the news this morning. Meanwhile, we also have an ex-minister who collapsed before his trial. Remember that in Nigeria, when you want to probe someone, there's always one drama or the other. We see people fainting. We see it's not new. I mean, we always see drama. All of a sudden, your health is of concern when you are trying to be probed or you're getting into trial in court. Really, really dramatic stuff going on in the news at the moment. But hey, we'll check all of that today. Of course, at 7:30 we'll be joined by Rufai Oseni to help us do justice to our headlines. So let's just go through all of them this morning. Let's start internationally and then we head on right down to Nigeria. In a shocking move in Kenya, the President William Ruto sacked his entire cabinet. President William Ruto, making his address at appraisal of the July 11th, 2024, announced the dismissal of all cabinet secretaries. He fired all cabinet secretaries and Attorney General Justin Muturi in response to a youth-led anti-government protest. Only the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia, who also doubles as a Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary, has been spared. He said, upon reflection, listening keenly to what the people of Kenya have said, and after a holistic appraisal of the performance of my cabinet,
waiting to see how President William Ruto would react to growing discontent with his government.
I have and the Office of the Attorney General Act, he's decided to dismiss with immediate effect all the cabinet secretaries and the AGF from the cabinet of the Republic of Kenya, except the Prime Cabinet Secretary and the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs. He said in a televised announcement, he said he would engage other political players in reconstituting his cabinet. In the meantime, the president said government operations would continue under the guidance of principal secretaries and other relevant officials. He said he will immediately engage in extensive consultations across different sectors and political formations with the aim of setting up a broad-based government that will assist him in accelerating and expediting the necessary, urgent, and irreversible implementation of radical programs to deal with the burden of debt, raising domestic resources, expanding job opportunities, eliminating wastage, and the dragon of corruption, consequently making the government lean, inexpensive, efficient, and effective. Drama in Kenya today. I'm sure the secretaries will be like, what is happening? What is happening? The people protested and the president listened to the cry of his people. You see a president who has seen that he cannot rule the country, he cannot lead the country without the support of his people, and he's listening to the public outcry. Right? Democracy is about majority. We in our local parlance we say majority carry the votes. Abi? So they're seeing the majority asking for the sack of ineffective, inefficient secretaries in the government, right? In his cabinet. And we saw that the president himself William Ruto decided to do what the people wanted. If you now bring it here to Nigeria and look at our ministers, we said we're going to do an appraisal. Some people call it a sham of an appraisal, right? That was supposed to be 1 week before the president clocked 1 year in office. What we saw was them reeling out all their successes, of which you cannot even see tangibly, according to what a lot of people have said. Or could they be a work in progress? Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this. Is this something that you expect the president to look at and follow suit? Like, if you see that your staff isn't working well, will you not sack the staff? Maybe you have appraised the person. It's really interesting because in every private sector, when you look at businesses, you see that appraisals are done on a monthly basis to check, are you doing well? What's the KPI? Are you doing well in all ramifications? One of our analysts, Mr. Larry, he's always talking about the fact that you have to look at it holistically. You're looking at in terms of contracts. How easily did people get contracts from your ministry? In terms of the process, due process, did you follow due process? And then the monies that were disbursed, how have you used them? Judiciously, or you are trying to hide what is not supposed to be hidden? Right? So there's a lot to look at. Is it possible for our president to appraise his ministers and actually find them wanting in areas where they are actually wanting, and then sack them? It's really, really important. If someone is not doing a job that you hire them for, it's a bad light on you. It's a bad stain on you, right? Aren't you supposed to do all you can to ensure that you look well, right? You look good in public lights. Anyway, let's move on to Nigeria here, where the Supreme Court ruled where local councils must now account for their own actions. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Thursday welcomed the decision of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, affirming the spirit, intent, and purpose of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on the statutory rights of local governments. According to the president, it said, by virtue of this judgment, our people, especially the poor, will be able to hold their local leaders to account for their actions and inactions. What is sent to the local government accounts will be known, and services must now be provided without excuses. President Tinubu, according to a statement signed by his essay on media and publicity Ajuri Ngalale, noted that one of the fundamental challenges to the nation's advancement over the years has been ineffective local government administration, as governance at that level is nearly absent. Re-echoing his relief over the Apex Court's verdict on Thursday, the president emphasized that the onus is now on local council leaders to ensure that the broad spectrum of Nigerians living at the local government level are satisfied that they are benefiting from people-oriented service delivery. Really, really interesting drama that has played out. The Supreme Court has given us a gbas. Now, Anambra State Governor Professor Charles Soludo has said that state governors will meet. They met yesterday night to review the judgment of the Supreme Court that granted financial autonomy to local governments. Soludo, who spoke to State House correspondents after meeting with the president, said even though he had not seen the judgment, it was great. He said, that's great. I mean, the Supreme Court is the final authority, and I am a Democrat. I believe in the rule of law, and once the Supreme Court has spoken, it has spoken. Tonight, I think the Governor's Forum is meeting to review this. The Governor said there was a need for resources to go down to the grassroots, adding that public funds must work for the people at all levels of government. We need to promote accountability. We need to promote transparency in the utilization of public resources at all levels to be able to lift the burden of the common man. I don't know if this is something that the Supreme Court can actually guarantee, right? Can the Supreme Court guarantee, the Supreme Court ruling, can it guarantee autonomy for local government areas, right? Is it possible that this ruling of the Supreme Court will be held by the governors? We're not going to see some issue or the other jumping up in response to this. We'll watch and see how that plays out. However, we'll be dissecting that particular situation with Mr. Rufai and then with Larry Oguego. I'm sure he has something interesting to say about it. Meanwhile, the federal government floors governors as Supreme Court outlaws caretaker exco joint accounts. This is on Punch newspaper. The federal government on Thursday floored the 36 state governors at the Supreme Court as the apex court granted full financial autonomy to the 774 local governments in the country. The seven-man panel in a unanimous decision outlawed the appointment of caretaker committees to administer the appointment of caretaker committees to administer the local governments by state governors. The panel also declared that it was illegal and unconstitutional for governors to continue to receive or retain funds allocated to the local councils under state and local government joint accounts. The court delivered the landmark judgment filed by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, against the 36 state governors. The AGF had sued the state governors through their respective states' attorney generals. By this development, the governors now control the governor's control of the 774 councils allocation has been halted. An analysis of the monthly distribution document released by the NBS indicates that local government areas got about 2.6 trillion naira allocations from FAC between January last year and December. In the first 5 months of 2024, local councils have also received about 1.4 trillion naira collectively. Right. Also, several states without elected local government officials may have their council allocation withheld. The states include Rivers, Ondo, Osun, and Plateau, whose local government areas are being run by caretaker committees. Now, looking at this issue, if you look at the AGF's case, the suit was hinged on 27 grounds that the Constitution of Nigeria recognizes federal, state, and local government as 3 tiers of government, which is what we used to practice before the governors decided to take over and hijack the funds from the local government councils. All the governors, we saw that they opposed the suit and they urged the apex court to strike out the case for being grossly incompetent. They claimed that the AGF lacked the local standing to institute that suit for the local governments, right? But in the lead judgment delivered by Justice Emmanuel Agim, the apex court now declared that the government was portioned into 3 tiers: federal, state, and local government. And a democratically elected local government is sacrosanct and non-negotiable. We'll watch and see how all this plays out, if the governors will allow peace to reign in their states. We'll watch and see. Meanwhile, we have a minister, an ex-power minister, collapsing before his trial. He's been remanded in prison, by the way, on 33 billion naira fraud. Ex-power minister Saleh Maman collapsed on Thursday at the Federal High Court in Abuja, where he was arraigned for alleged 33 billion naira fraud. He served as an ex-power minister and he collapsed before trial. He's been remanded in prison. He served as the minister under the ex-president, Muhammadu Buhari. He was led into the dark in drenched clothes, prompting his lawyer to explain to Justice James Omotosho that he collapsed on the court premises and had to be revived by medical personnel just before the case was called for hearing. The defense lawyer said his client was only served with the charges by the EFCC after he was resuscitated. The lawyer prayed the judge to adjourn the arraignment till Monday, given the ex-minister's condition. The judge, however, declined the adjournment prayer, noting that his docket was already full for Monday. Instead of an adjournment, he granted a 1-hour stand down for the case for Maman to feel better, though the ex-minister maintained he was fine enough for the case to proceed. He was later arraigned on 12 counts, in which he was accused of money laundering to the tune of 33 billion naira. He pleaded not guilty to the charges, and the EFCC prosecutor asked the judge to fix a date for trial. The judge said the application was not before the court, and meanwhile he ordered Maman to be sent to court today for 1 hour. If you remember Saleh Maman, he served as minister under Buhari's administration between 2019 and 2021. He was accused of conspiring with the staff of the ministry in charge of the accounts of the Zungeru and the Mambila hydroelectric power projects to divert about 33 billion naira. There are a lot of ministers who have been fingered in one way or the other, or ministers in acting capacity, especially during the Buhari's administration, who served under the Buhari's administration. They've been fingered in one issue or the other as diverting funds for one case or the other. You just begin to wonder, what exactly is the due process when it comes to releasing funds? Where are all these loopholes that we have lawmakers, ministers who find it very, very easy to divert funds? Where are all these loopholes? And then the staff of the ministry as well, that's the civil servants themselves, aiding and abetting stealing. It remains to carry on, right? It remains to carry on, because at this point in time, where you just at a stroke of your pen, you have moved 100 billion naira, you have moved 1 trillion naira into your personal accounts, or you've moved it in one way or the other to ensure that it is not traced back to you. If I just carry on, more no say you be thief, right? I'm not saying that he's a thief. I'm not saying, because the case is in court, when we're yet to see what the judge will say. But you let me know your thoughts on it. 0808 312 8618. 0808 312 8618 is the number to call to be a part of our conversation this morning. And by the way, we are live on YouTube at Voice of the People Abuja. You can join us live on YouTube at Voice of the People Abuja. The Supreme Court has ordered the immediate direct payment of local government allocations to the local government. Moving on to another headline this morning, we have in Sokoto State, despite outcry, Sokoto governor signs law affecting the Sultan's power. Remember, there's been a bit of a power tussle between the Sultan of Sokoto and the governor of the state. Governor Ahmed Aliyu of Sokoto State has been given assent to the Sokoto local government and chieftaincy laws, which stripped Alhaji Sa'ad Abubakar, the Sultan of Sokoto, of the power to appoint district and village heads in the state. The law had generated controversy across the country, as many were opposed to it in the first place. Speaking on Thursday, after signing 6 executive bills recently passed by the State House of Assembly, Aliyu explained that the amendments were aimed at removing ambiguities and inconsistencies with the nation's constitution. He said the amended laws in the state were not intended to target any individual or group, but rather to promote good governance. Ahmed Aliyu said, "It is well known that in every society laws are enacted and amended to suit the needs of the time and the interests of the governed in line with current circumstances. In Nigeria, we've witnessed a series of constitutional amendments to give the country laws that ensure peace, tranquility, and socio-political development." Aliyu said that Sokoto, like other states, have amended various laws under previous administrations to foster peace and development. He expressed concern over the tension created by the proposed amendment. Well, we'll try to get Rufai's thoughts on this. Initially, they had come out, that's the government of Sokoto State had come out to say that, oh, we're not attacking the Sultan of Sokoto, we're not removing him in any way, and we're not trying to strip him of his powers. But this move sort of strips or reduces the power of the Sultan of Sokoto, his power to appoint village heads and district heads in the state. If you take out that power, what other powers does he have if you look at it? Anyway, let's check out some of the voices in the news this morning. Of course, we're going to talk about Iwike. There was a conversation had yesterday that I found very interesting. One Dan Wanyao, who's a Zenith Labour Party chairman, ZLP, he talked about the fact that Wike is planning to run under the PDP against President Bola Tinubu in 2027. It'll be interesting to see that drama play out, but let's listen to what he had to say about that.
Without sounding modest, I understand this game. I've been at the toppest level of leadership, party leadership since 2005. I can know the barometer, and I have never been wrong. I gave examples there. Here's a man who has said so many things as commitment. Anybody who emerges from this convention, I will support him wholly. I have nothing to do with APC. I have malaria. You say I should go to cancer. God forbid. I can go on and on. In fact, I had 26. This morning, an unknown Nigerian sent 4 more to me. Look, character is everything. Character is all. And I believe, I have been a firm believer that there must be a moral content in politics. Look, when you hurt a little child, you know you can easily forget it. The little child will not forget because he got the pains. Maybe many years later, he will remind you, Uncle Charles, you did this to me. You'll be shocked. You may not remember. The fact is that, why are you holding PDP, APC structures?
Well, I was going to ask you this just quickly, because I still haven't heard the evidence from you that supports your assertion that he is going to run against President Tinubu in 2027. I was wondering, you mentioned party. Under which party would he do that? I mean, as you correctly pointed out, let me just make the point. He's got one leg in the PDP and the other in the APC. Which of those parties do you think would be prepared to carry his message and support his candidate?
You see, if you ask me a question, you should be patient to get the answers.
Well, I've just asked you the question.
Good.
Yeah.
He has the structure of PDP in Rivers. He has the structure of APC in Rivers. He has the structure of PDP at the national. And he's always talking about my structure, my structure. Nobody can touch my structure. Nobody can. What are these structures for? Somebody had them before you came. You see, if you are looking for evidence that something is written or something is said, you won't find it. If you are in that game and you know how these things work, the evidence is abound everywhere. If I made a comment that he will run, let him leave, and he doesn't want to run, let him leave the leadership of the party, which is in his pocket at the national level.
The leadership of the PDP.
PDP.
Right.
It's in his pocket. The caretaker committee in Rivers, PDP, he's holding all. I have never seen this happen in politics before. Almost everybody in PDP had let it go. Look, we had our quarterly meeting with INEC last month or so. This matter came up that INEC, please go and conduct election in the vacant 27 seats. INEC, of course, we are joined with so many cases. Everybody became a very serious matter in the meeting. Then everything calmed down. INEC chairman said, okay, PDP representative here. He was represented by National Secretary. What do you have to say? He said, I have nothing to say. This is a party that lost 27 members. It doesn't want to say anything about it.
All right. In also another turn of events, we had a Mahmoud Jega, who also is an analyst, talking about the fact that Wike is heading to the APC, but he wants to wreak havoc in the PDP before he leaves. I don't know what you think about this, but hey, let's take a listen to what he had to say about that.
I'm not surprised that the Fubara side will say that, because obviously it will be a big strategic advantage if they can get the FCT minister to collide with the president and probably be thrown out of the FCT ministry and the cabinet, because after that he will not be able to sustain the fight in Rivers. But my own thinking is that ultimately Mr. Wike is headed for APC. Those 27 members of the Rivers Assembly who announced, without thinking very carefully about the implications, that they had resigned from PDP and were going to APC, must have done so in consultation with him, because he is clearly their leader. And not only them, many commissioners in Fubara's cabinet also wrote and resigned, and many members of the state PDP executive are also clearly in league with APC. So my own feeling is that Mr. Wike is headed for APC. But before he goes, and he's not the only one, you know, in politics in Nigeria, we do that kind of thing. He must wreck PDP or inflict as much damage as he could there, because that will make him more vulnerable when he comes to APC. Many people do that. Probably nobody has done it like to the extent that he has, you know, to have one leg in this party and even control the National Executive Committee of PDP. Maybe nobody went that far. The last time I remember something like this happened was when Ali Madu Sharif was chairman of PDP, and they wanted to remove him, and it looked like he wanted to create as much confusion as he could before he left. And it was, Wike was also involved in there because he had a hand in making him. So that is my own feeling. Otherwise, I don't really see him running against President Tinubu. I'm sure he wants to be president. He has made that very clear. But it will be a very dicey thing to do.
I mean, he would, unless, I mean, President Tinubu makes some spectacular mistakes from within his own party as well.
All right. Well, you've heard it. You make your permutations. Look at the behaviors of some of the people, the Wike's loyalists in Rivers State, and see where they're moving to. Once you look at that, you would make your own permutations. In politics, there's nothing set in stone. In fact, 1 hour is long in politics, you know. So much can happen in an hour. We've seen it time and time again. You know, judgments are turned in 1 minute. So many things can be done. So let's not even look at that. But the point is, look at the behavior of the loyalists, Wike's loyalists in Rivers State, and then you can be able to permutate that. Oh, okay, we're seeing Wike who's driving towards the APC with one leg in the PDP and one leg in the APC. Meanwhile, another headline here says public officials received 721 billion naira bribe in 2023. According to the MBS reports, no fewer than 721 billion naira was received as bribe by Nigerian public officials in 2023. The report was released yesterday, titled Corruption in Nigeria, Patterns and Trends. It said 721 billion naira paid in bribes amounts to about 0.35% of Nigeria's GDP. According to the survey, the average cash bribe was about 8,284 naira, an increase from an average of 5,754 naira in 2019. Really, really interesting if you look at it. I don't know how true this particular report is, but 721 billion naira received as bribe, well, that's left to be seen. Some people say it's more, much more than that. You let me know your thoughts. 0808 312 8618 is the number to call to be part of the conversation. And remember, we are live on YouTube at Voice of the People Abuja. Join us live on YouTube at Voice of the People Abuja. All right, 0808 312 8618 is the number to call to be a part of the conversation. Is 7:33. I'll be reaching out to Rufai Oseni so we can check out some of these headlines and get his thoughts on 1, 2, 3 of the headlines. Really interesting stuff going on. Still in the news, we have trying to find. Yes, yesterday, Akpabio and Ahmed Lawan, who is the former Senate president, clashing over resumption time. The Senate on Thursday went into an emergency closed-door session, sequel to a heated disagreement between the former Senate president, Senator Ahmed Lawan, representing Yobe North. The Senate on Thursday went into an emergency closed-door session, sequel to a heated disagreement between the former Senate President, Senator Ahmed Lawan, and the incumbent Senate President, Godswill Akpabio. Pretty much, plenary is supposed to commence by 10 a.m. and rounds off by 2 p.m. All right, we have Rufai Oseni on the phone. We'll continue with this particular headline in just a moment. Good morning.
Morning, Jesse. Bless you. Bless Abuja.
All right, let's jump on the headline real quickly. The Supreme Court threw a blow to the governors yesterday. Really interesting. What's your take on it?
It was long coming. It was long intended. The Constitution says they should both have a joint account, the state and the federal government. And why I'm deliberately starting from that, because that's the bone of contention. A lot of governors are now citing. But the Constitution said they should both have its joint account, so that all the state does is it transfers that money from that account to the local government. But truth is...
Hello, Rufai, can you hear me? Hello. All right, we'll try to re-establish. All right. Hello. Mr. Rufai, can you hear me?
I can hear you, guess you. I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. We lost you for a minute.
So as I was saying, but the state governments have actually subsumed the local government, and they call the shots and everything. So that's why you have the problems you have. So what the justice pretty much said yesterday is the fact that since this is not working, let us send the money directly to the local government. Anyway, but the governors are now claiming that there's a constitutional provision that says that money must be paid to a joint account. So some people also argue that the Supreme Court is a policy court and all of that. But let's see how all of these arguments will pan out. But the most important thing is we must just have to put a stop to all of this shenanigans being done. But my fear is the implementation of this law. Because with other laws, they've also constantly said that the local government must not, the state government must not, as such as state assembly must not give the governors the chance to be able to have caretaker committees and all of that. Before now. But the Supreme Court judgment now repeated that again. But it's not been followed. So people violate the Supreme Court. They violate the laws of the land with recourse to no implications. So also, when you now look at it paramountly, the fact that now the local governments have their money, hope the state governors that have put them in their back pockets will not say, oh, hey, you be the Supreme Court said should pay you money. Okay, they'll pay you money, but I will still collect the money from you from back. And what it will now open an avenue for the governor, for the local government chairman to now become overlords. Because let's also see, the quality of local governments have fallen greatly. The quality of people that become chairman there are just always concerned about themselves and themselves only. So these are the implications we should also look at it. But it's a good one coming. Because if that money is deployed to the local government, then the local government should be able to do a lot more, and help a lot more people.
Well, watch and see how it plays out. I mean, because it's still a bone of contention, especially with the governors and this whole joint account situation. 33 billion naira fraud on the Zungeru and
why is it that when they arrange them, they're always collapsing, they're always falling sick, they're always when they were.
Everybody might be the shock.
when they were doing whatever they were doing, we don't hear collapses. So truth is, if you do anything, go and answer it in court. It's not a case of collapsation. In Abuja, I'll give accounts. And one of the first people that will judge me will be our constituents, our listeners. Am I feeding them later? I will give accounts. Did I use this platform to be able to enhance the life of people? It will show. So if anybody that has been put in a position of authority and power, they must not faint.
Mr. Rufai, I just want to touch like this on a little bit. Buhari was sold to us as someone who was going to fight corruption, but under his leadership, we saw a lot happening. We saw his accountant general, Ahmed Idris, who had an alleged case of 80 billion naira fraud. And then the person who was appointed right after in acting capacity, Waboku, also had another case of fraud. It's like, okay, should be my.
Jesse, with due respect. Nigeria has built a corrupt system. Any leader that is there will always be either with the charge of correct. You are talking about Accountant General under Buhari. The Accountant General under Jonathan too was corrupt. He said that he had misappropriation of funds, millions of naira. So if the Accountant General that is supposed to keep the account of the nation had caught in corruption, then how is the account of the nation safe? And it's not one accountant, it's many accountant generals down the line. You saw the other one recently that he said he even admitted and he said, you know what, don't worry, give me time to return the money. So the problem is, how can we fight that systemic corruption? And the tech corruption has also seeped even into the private sector. Do you know the corruption that is going on in this government? You don't know now. It's probably when they leave too, you'll be able to ascertain what is going on. So I think the main challenge is how can we make corruption unattractive? Not that there will never be corruption, but let's increasingly make it unattractive with steeper penalties and deterrence. That's how we can truly build a nation.
Mr. Rufai, whatever loopholes that we have that makes it very, very easy for an accountant general of a federation to pilfer monies from public funds, why can't we plug them? Why do we have such porous systems?
So I will now tell you the reason why you can't block them is personal interest. As long as there are interests involved and people will say, oh, my priority is to be here to steal and take for myself, then they start to diverse me. So even if you look for ways to block them, people will still open those ways and do it in such a way that they can steal. Because the stealing is not only them alone. When you hear an accountant general stole 60 billion, it's not him alone. What about the money he shares for the other people? So we have a system of endemic corruption. That's just it.
All right. Still on this corruption issue, MBS released a report yesterday talking about public officials who received bribes to the tune of 721 billion naira in 2023. You're looking at an average cash bribe of 8,284 naira, which is an increment from what it was in 2019, an average of 5,007. So, MBS released a report talking about 721 billion naira bribe that was received by Nigerian public officials in 2023.
I think it's even more than that.
Exactly.
I think it's more than that. With due respect. So, but if that's a benchmark figure, it shows you the level of decadence in the system. So, but I think it's even more than that. And that's to show you the system of pandemic corruption. See, if you try to look at how much we've made from crude oil revenue in the last 20 years, the question is, why is it not trickled down to the people? Because of corruption. Why have the people not been able to feel the effect? It's because of the massive level of corruption. Look at you and all of that. It's because of corruption.
The president has asked labor leaders to be realistic with
farmers. He said most farmers will not even love to farm because they lose a lot of money from agricultural value chain now. And there's no recourse to buffers, economic buffers. So when you look at that, okay, look at when even the floods happened. The likes of Olam that lost a lot, probably maybe their foreign insurance that helped them settle it out. But if it was the government, I'm not sure they did anything. So over the years, we have not invested in agriculture. Okay, see, people are talking about buying paddy today. You know, it's a big indictment. When Akinwumi Additional was there, Nigeria was self-sufficient in paddy. That was between 6,000. She started their propaganda that it was not good enough, that it's a terrible human being. That was when Akinwumi Additional president of AFDB now had something called the wallet system. So let's stop deceiving ourselves. When we are ready, we'll make it work. If we are not ready, guess we'll keep joking.
All right, we'll see. We'll see how all of this drama plays out. We'll see how it plays out. Meanwhile, on the international scene, we're seeing President William Ruto doing something really commendable to his cabinet. He sacked the entire cabinet, talking about all cabinet secretaries and the AGF of the country. What's your take on this?
Let's see how that pans out. Let's see if those reforms will kick in.
Okay.
Let's see how that pans out. Yeah.
All right. We'll watch and see. Is there any other headline you'd like to touch before we call it a wrap?
There was a story making the rounds where Mr. Cardozo was saying most of the inflation problems because of the ways and means. No. It's because of the bad decision of President Tinubu. President Tinubu came in, we are taking ways and means because of the bad things. And the CBN too stopped most of these intervention programs to the farmers. You're already seeing it now. The effect of those stopping of those interventions, they called it corrupt. So those farmers were not getting incentives to go into plant again. Everybody was blaming Emefiele that, he was doing too much and everything. But it's often, at least the things Emefiele were able to cushion. Now we're not seeing everything coming to roost. So you see how life is. What is it called? Destroy things. That's just it.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Rufai, for your time. It's Friday. Any plans?
Me? I've had a very, very long and busy week. My plan this Friday is to jump on my bed and have a very good night's sleep after my day's work. That's the greatest thing for a Friday. Anyway, I don't understand how people have plans on Friday night, because for me, maybe because I work so hard within the week. So my Friday, I look forward to my good sleep. Undetached sleeping to Saturday morning, where I don't have to wake up at 4 o'clock. So that's what I look forward to. So now I'm going to disturb yourself on Friday night again. So probably see a very good comedy movie. I like to laugh a lot and have a good night's sleep.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Rufai.
Bless you. Have a good one. Bless you.
You too. You have the opportunity to join the conversation, right? Go ahead and call me up, 0808 312 8618. 0808 312 8618 is the number to call to be a part of the conversation right about now. Hello, good morning. Adeomi, how far now? Thank you so much.
Hi. Hello?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
They have been talking about this issue of one way. PNG buses. We didn't see anyone. Now, Mr. President, I want to ask, when you bought people for National Assembly and Director 1 million, times 469 people, did you people cut your code according to your side? You bought yours. You built Vice President house. How many months did you take there? Georgie, I think we should be fair to ourselves. I know the percentage of government workers are not up to 5%. We have organized private sector. We have people like me, taxi driver, market women, look at many of you that in the media. It's not that the money that you are taking from the office is what you will earn. You still have another work that you do when you leave office. I know that especially you have explained. You bake cake to sell for people. If you cannot allow you sit and look, how much they give you in the studio that you are working before you take care of yourself? So the Mr. President should have thinking about all this. They should feed Nigerian well. If issue of refinery can be fixed, with the price of fuel come down, everything will be normal. Even though if you give people 30,000 or 40,000, it will be normal. I remember when fuel was 195. We used to go here for 3,000. If I see here for 3,000 there, it will be as if I'm going to Calabar. I will be happy if I see one long day. But today, if anybody stop me at the taxi driver airport and say 10,000, the person price maybe 8,000, I will not go because Trump is 10 liters. Remove the price of fuel out of the money that the president gave me. So all this is what we need to tell them. And the labor also should not talk about only salary. They should challenge the government. Look at senators, look at House of Reps, look at governor. They are just wasting our money, collecting the big salary, everybody. They are doing nothing. Imagine 27 million, 400,000, they had hardship allowance, entertainment allowance, newspaper allowance, wardrobe allowance. On what basis? And it is you and I taxpayer, the same Nigeria that suffer stand inside science to vote for these people. They are the one who is taking constituency project 500 million. How many projects did they executed in your local government, my dear? You are from a Bayelsa state that has just keep local government. We saw the high level of poverty there. I'm from Oseni state. The senator is from my village. The former is from my village. The House of Reps is from my village in the local government. The president, two of them now, they are still from my village. What is the reason that they're behind DJ? And we don't have any good social amenity in my hometown. I'm from Ila local government in Oseni State, where the former Inspector General of Police came from. He was the only one that we can say he gave us what they call the brains of democracy by giving us police training college. That's what our parents rely on because the police that came there to come and train, you understand? They are making market move. They're renting houses. We have a lot of good houses in our village. Nobody's inside. The senator is from my hometown. The House of Reps is from my hometown. Today, PDP also central. You understand? So what we need now, Labour, is that they should join Nigeria to challenge our leaders. They are taking us for granted too much. Imagine many of them cannot boast of 1 million before. Today they are billionaires. At the expense of Nigeria, over 200 million. Those who are making Nigeria suffer, they are not up to 5%. God bless you, my sister. Thank you. Have a nice weekend. Send me where to your boss.
No problem. Thank you so much, Adeomi. All right, do well to call us 0808-312-8618. Local government autonomy, according to the Supreme Court, but there's still a little bit of issue, especially with the joint account that the government and the state government and the local government have to share. The issue here is the governors themselves sending the monies to the local government. That is where they clash. How do we fix it? That is the question this morning. Do you think the Supreme Court's judgment will even be upheld, where we have seen the federal government, we have seen state governors flaunting the Supreme Court, which is the apex court in Nigeria, I might add, right? And then we even saw the AGF himself recently talking about the fact that the Supreme Court is supposed to be the hope of the common man, but right now we're seeing big men shopping for judgments here and there. We'll watch and see how all that plays out. But 0808-312-8618 is the number to call to be a part of our conversation. You can also send a WhatsApp message to that number as well. 0808-312-8618. Okay, on WhatsApp, this message here says, good morning, presenter. Talking about local government autonomy, I'm not sure how that will work, looking at the greed of our governors these days. Shebi, it was working before and they hijacked it. Now, Supreme Court has given their judgment. Let's watch and see how that will play out. All right, thank you so much. Please be putting your name so that we know who's talking and where you are hearing us from. All right, 0808-312-8618 is the number to call to be a part of our conversation as well. We saw a minister, an ex-acting minister, not acting now, pardon me, ex-minister fainting before the trial in court, in the Supreme Court yesterday. Why do you think that, I don't know, whether it's virtue that leaves them when they hear their cases about to be held in court? I don't know if it's virtue that just leaves them at that momentary oxygen has just left their brain momentarily, and then they just faint before a trial. I don't know what you think the reason is, but let me know what you think about it. 0808 312 8618. Anytime we want to probe a minister, boom, the minister has fainted. Let's know your thoughts on it. 0808 312 8618. That is the number to call this morning. Of course, on the arena at 8 a.m., we're going to be torchlighting this issue of local government autonomy and some of the issues surrounding it. We'll look at if it actually works. I mean, the quest for local government autonomy has been a recurring issue in Nigeria. It's predated the country's political independence, and the struggle is thrown up various reforms, including we had the landmark reforms of 1976 of the local government system in the country that was aimed at democratizing the local government administration. We'll look at all that with Mr. Larry on the 8 o'clock hour. Thank you so much for being a part of our conversation this morning. Okay, WhatsApp message just dropped here. It says, guess you they ask person why person they faint. Oh my God. Really, really interesting when we see our politicians do what they do. But hey, I'll be back at the arena at the 8 o'clock hour to talk about local government autonomy. Stick around.